Commander Zixathala stood before the massive holographic display, her crystalline fingers dancing across the control matrix. The Dominion's greatest weapon, the Harmony engine, hummed with devastating potential. For 3 galactic cycles, her species had perfected this pinnacle of technological warfare. It could pacify entire star systems, rendering enemy forces docile and compliant within minutes. "Target acquired," reported her tactical officer, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. The human fleet maintained standard formation. 17 vessels, primitive fusion drives, laughably outdated weapon systems. Zixthala's compound eyes gleamed. Humans had been a nuisance for decades. Their crude expansion into Dominion territory, their stubborn refusal to acknowledge superior civilization, their baffling tendency to fight battles they couldn't possibly win. Today that would end. The Harmony engine worked by broadcasting a psychic frequency that synchronized with the neural patterns of most sentient species. Once exposed, subjects experienced overwhelming euphoria and became utterly peaceful, their aggressive impulses suppressed. The Dominion had tested it on 47 different species across the galaxy. Every single one had succumbed within minutes. "Initiate the Harmony Protocol," Zixthala commanded. The weapon's crystalline core blazed with ethereal light. Waves of psychic energy rippled outward, washing over the human fleet like an invisible tsunami. The bridge fell silent as they waited for the inevitable. The human ships would drift helplessly, their crews lost in blissful tranquility. Minutes passed. The human fleet continued its approach. "Tactical report," Zixathala snapped. The humans are not responding to the Harmony engine," the officer stammered. "Their formation remains intact. They're actually accelerating toward us." "Impossible." Zixathala studied the readouts. The weapon was functioning perfectly, generating psychic waves at optimal frequency, yet the human ships showed no signs of the neural pacification that should have rendered them harmless. "Increase power output by 30%, she ordered. The Harmony engine's hum deepened, its energy output climbing beyond normal parameters. The psychic waves now pulsed with enough force to pacify an entire planet's population. Still the humans came. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her command chair aboard the UES Defiance, watching the enemy weapons light show with grim amusement. Around her, the bridge crew maintained their posts with typical human stubbornness. "Ma'am, we're detecting some kind of psychic transmission from the alien vessel," reported her communications officer. "It's actually kind of pleasant, like listening to meditation music." "Any effects on crew performance?" Chen asked. "Negative, Admiral. If anything, morale seems to be improving. Commander Rodriguez in engineering says his team is feeling surprisingly zen about the upcoming battle." Chen nodded. Intelligence had prepared them for this possibility. The aliens' so-called superweapon relied on a fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology. They assumed all sentient species shared their rigid hierarchical neural structures, patterns that could be easily manipulated by psychic interference. They were wrong. Humans had evolved differently. Their brains were chaotic, contradictory messes of competing impulses, emotions, and thoughts. Where other species had streamlined neural pathways, humans had redundant systems, backup processes, and a maddening tendency to think in paradoxes. The very thing that made them seem primitive to other species, their psychological complexity and inconsistency, made them immune to psychic manipulation. The aliens' weapon was designed to create harmony, but humans thrived on internal conflict. "Admiral," called her tactical officer, "the enemy vessel is increasing power output again. Whatever they're trying to do, they're really committed to it." "Let them waste their energy," Chen replied. "All ships prepare to engage. Today we show these superior beings what human unpredictability can accomplish." Aboard the Dominion flagship, panic spread through the command crew like wildfire. The Harmony engine was now operating at 150% capacity, well beyond safe parameters, yet the human fleet remained completely unaffected. "Perhaps their neural patterns are different," suggested the science officer. "We could recalibrate the frequency." "There's no time," Zixthala interrupted. "They'll be in weapons range in minutes." She watched the approaching human ships with growing dread. Their formation was all wrong, too loose, too irregular. Any properly trained fleet would maintain perfect geometric spacing for optimal defensive coverage. But these humans scattered across space like debris, each ship following its own seemingly random course. It was militarily nonsensical. It was tactically chaotic. It was completely unpredictable. It was terrifying. The first human torpedoes struck the Dominion fleet before Zixathala could formulate a proper response. But these weren't standard projectiles. They were improvised combinations of mining charges, industrial plasma cutters, and what appeared to be modified cargo containers. No military academy in the galaxy would approve such weapons. They were devastatingly effective. As her flagship shuddered under the assault, Zixathala realized the terrible truth. The Dominion had spent millennia perfecting the art of civilized warfare, standardized weapons, predictable tactics, rules of engagement that both sides understood. They had created the ultimate weapon against rational opponents. But humans weren't rational opponents. They were creative, chaotic, and completely unwilling to follow anyone else's rules. They turned mining equipment into weapons, used their own illogical psychology as armor, and somehow made weakness into strength. The Harmony engine's crystalline core began to crack under the strain of maximum power output. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems overloaded. In her final moments, Zixathala understood why humanity had spread across the galaxy, despite their technological inferiority. They didn't play by the rules because they wrote their own. The last thing she saw was a human fighter craft diving toward her bridge, its pilot somehow managing to make a suicide run look like an act of joyful defiance. Later, as Admiral Chen surveyed the wreckage of the Dominion fleet, she allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had built the perfect weapon against a perfectly rational enemy. Unfortunately for them, humans had never been accused of being perfectly rational. And that, she thought, was humanity's greatest strength.